How to form a nonprofit organization. A nonprofit organization, abbreviated as NPO, also known as a not-for-profit organization, is an organization that does not distribute its excess profits to owners or shareholders, but instead uses them to help pursue its goals. Nonprofit organizations are established for a variety of purposes, most commonly charitable, educational or religious. Some common examples are schools, hospitals, houses of worship, museums, fraternal organizations, food banks, homeless shelters, trade unions and other volunteer organizations. Nonprofit organizations must be organized as either trusts, associations or corporations. Nonprofit corporations. Forming your nonprofit organization as a corporation, instead of a trust or an association, will offer you all the same benefits as a for-profit corporation. The most significant benefit is limited liability protection for the officers, directors, and shareholders of the corporation, so that their bank accounts, homes, and other personal assets cannot be used to satisfy the debts and liabilities of the nonprofit corporation. The main advantages of a nonprofit corporation over a for-profit company are exemptions from state and federal income tax and property tax, although the exemptions must be applied for separately. There are also some other, smaller benefits, such as reduced rates at the U.S. Postal Service. Unlike for-profit corporations, nonprofits cannot distribute any profits to their members, contribute money to political campaigns, or engage in political lobbying, except in very limited circumstances. Forming a nonprofit organization. Forming a nonprofit organization is a multi-step process. Forming a nonprofit corporate entity. The first necessary step is the formation of a corporate entity in one of the United States. Although this step closely resembles formation of a regular for-profit corporation, there are specific requirements that must be observed when forming a nonprofit entity. State fees may also be different from those for for-profit corporations, usually lower. Applying for federal tax exemptions. Once the nonprofit entity is formed, the second step is application for tax-exempt status with the federal government. The most commonly used federal tax exemption used for nonprofit corporations is in Section 501(c)(3) of the Internal Revenue Code, which is why most nonprofit organizations are referred to as 501(c)(3) companies. The application is lengthy and complex and usually requires an experienced specialist to complete it. Once the nonprofit is granted its tax-exempt status by the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, only one step remains: applying for state tax exemptions. The final step is to obtain tax-exempt status in the state where the company is incorporated. Some states grant this status automatically, based on the nonprofit formation documents and the 501(c)(3) status. In other states, a separate application is required. Formalities of running a nonprofit. Even after a nonprofit is formed, the company must observe many formalities and make timely filings with the IRS. Nonprofit corporations are required to observe all of the same corporate formalities as their for-profit counterparts, including holding regular meetings of the board of directors and recording the minutes of these meetings. In addition, nonprofit corporations are required to keep books and records detailing all activities, both financial and non-financial. Financial information, particularly information on the sources of support, contributions, grants, sponsorships, and other sources of revenue, is crucial to determining an organization's private foundation status. Any nonprofit qualified under Section 501(c)(3) exemption must file an annual information return, Form 990, Form 990-S, Form 990-PF or Form N-990. Each state also has its own filing requirements for nonprofit corporations. We recommend consulting an accountant about these filings. Finally, all 501(c)(3) nonprofits are required to have a federal tax ID, EIN, number, regardless of whether they have any employees. Ready to form your nonprofit organization?